Yeah, this is for the culture and for those who love us. Chill, CFW, Compton's most wanted in this motherfucker. South side to the best, north side to the beast. Doing forward to 80. Greater later, player to player. Real shit lasts forever.
Let's make it happen.
It's showtime!
All right.
Yes, it is, man.
Welcome to
It's
the
a good
Six
day.
Show.
420.
Welcome
You know what I'm saying?
to the Six
Did y'all
Show.
hear the Showtime thing?
Nah.
Oh.
Yeah, we did. I heard
did?
it. Yeah, it's showtime.
What showtime?
One more time, D.
No, he did. No.
He did it.
I'm just making sure if y'all heard it.
Yeah.
I barely hear it.
Yeah, I heard it.
I hear it good.
It's there.
It's there. All
It's
right,
showtime,
welcome to the
goddammit.
shit. Welcome to the Six Show again. Since we live. All right, I think that's enough of that, though.
He won't hit the clown thing, but he'll hit that shit 5 million times. All right, let's go.
All right, welcome to the Six Show with my co-host Montage One.
What up?
We got the Chill, CMW.
What it is.
All right, I am MannyUP.
Manny.
And we got Big D.
Motherfucker, D!
All right, we got something special again for y'all. Real special. Got a great guest tonight. You know, when we first started this show, we wanted a platform for the West Coast. Somebody to speak for the West Coast. The great music, the great culture, from backpacking to gangster to reality rap, whatever you want to call it, from Crenshaw to Compton to Long Beach, from the Bay.
The culture.
The culture. We even talking the Central Valley.
Yes.
Shout out to Planet Asia. And so
Shout out.
we deliver today. All right, let's give it up for Paul Steward.
Paul
Give
Stewart.
it up
that
for
is
Paul, man.
Paul Stewart.
Give it up, give it
Personal
up,
homie,
give
thank
it
you
up,
for coming
give
out
it
today,
up.
man. Appreciate you a whole
Man,
lot.
thanks for having me, man. 420. I'm a little stuck, but man, it's been great out there and enjoying Lamert Park, and it's a real honor to be here. Thanks for having me, man.
I had to slow down myself, bro. I was like, I got this show, man.
I might
It's
be a
too
little
much.
too slow, but yeah.
It's
But,
all good.
We'll
But
work
I'm
with
gonna
it.
handle it though.
Yep.
Hey, man, I'm 420'd up, man. I got my hat on, my glasses. They can't see me, but I see them.
That's right. Happy 420, everybody. All right, let's get into it. A white boy from Crenshaw. That kind of sums up his new, is it a biopic or?
Well, you know, we released the trailer internally, me and my people, and we got a bunch of interest to do it as like a real project.
Dope.
So yeah, it was like one of those make it happen for yourself type of things, you know.
Smart.
But yeah, so it's a little movement, the white boy from Crenshaw thing. I mean, I thought it was it was a little downtime for me because of Corona, and I work primarily as a music supervisor now, mostly, you know, and there was a little downtime between jobs, and I said, you know, I wanted to do this and tell my story for a little while, and it's resonated incredibly with people, and I've got a lot of interest, and you know, it's like moving forward. So both possibly as like a scripted, loosely based on Netflix style show and a full length documentary film.
That's hella
Possibly,
dope.
and
Yeah, that's
possibly a
dope because-
podcast too.
Dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope because, you know, one thing that the pandemic showed is, you know what I'm saying, is like, hey, don't take life for granted. We could be here and gone tomorrow.
Real talk.
So why not do something to tell your own story
Come on.
before somebody else try to tell it for you and it's all messed up?
Exactly. And you know, I watched the trailer.
Thank you.
Fucking dope as hell.
Oh, thank you.
The
man.
story alone, you can't make it up.
Yeah.
You know, you can't
Yeah,
make
you
it
gotta
up. It's
really
dope
live
as fuck.
that.
You can't make it up. So we just
Can't
gonna
wait to
go
see it.
through the history of just how you from Crenshaw, because
Right.
I'm right in the avenues, born and raised on the 6th. You
Sure.
was right up the street,
Right.
just up the street, a few miles, if even 2 miles. So let's get into it. A white boy from Crenshaw, but he's way more than that.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, my father. I'll just talk a little bit about how I ended up here, and then how I got in the music industry real quick.
Dope.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, my father, like I say in the show, was crazy. You know, cat. He bought our house in October of 1965, and the Watts riots were in September.
Damn,
of
you
nine-
remember the month. And
Well, I just
that's-
researched it
Oh,
for
okay.
the
For the
project,
show.
right? Yeah, I knew roughly,
sitting there
but
like I'm slipping.
Nah,
I don't
mom's
remember
pulled up.
what month
I was
I did.
one, you know. No, mom's pulled up the paper. We lived in Inglewood, you know, and then we moved to the house in Baldwin Hills. I was one. My brother was, 2 years older than me, you know. And but I'm saying he bought it a month after the Watts riots happened.
Wow.
Dope.
Right. So it was kind of, you know, I mean, he obviously was not phased about living in a neighborhood like this and bringing his children up in it, and it just had a great effect on me because I was surrounded by black people and black culture my whole life, and it just rubbed off, in the music.
Right.
In high school, I started listening to hanging out with cats that lived over there off of like Slauson and Rimpaw and like kind of in that area. And they were, clowning the way I dressed and this, what I mean? It put me up on game, and just started turning me on to a lot of the music they were into, which was stuff like at that time, Rick James and Cameo, Daz Band, this era, And so I fell in love with that music. And I had been listening to a variety of music before then. And then when I went away to college, I went to school in Northern California. I started DJing right away. So this was 1982. So there was not a lot of hip hop out on the West Coast yet. We were collecting the New York records, and as the records started to come out on the West Coast,
82, we had Bobby, Jimmy, and the Critters, right?
It was not much going on. Yeah, there was.
Scarce.
Yeah,
we had no Too Short was like 84.
Yeah. There was Egypt was quick to come soon after that, and some of those records, and there were a few records of things. I'm kind of blanking on exactly what they were, but it wasn't a lot. If we could go through it, but there weren't a lot at that time.
I remember those. Yeah, it was about Timex Social Club and
and on your side of town in Compton, it was a lot of electronica.
Yeah,
we were still battling, trying to get out of that electronica.
We was on our Egypt,
exactly.
Kraftwerk,
exactly.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of records that, when I first started DJing, I was in a college town. I was in Northern California, and I wasn't just playing hip hop or anything. In fact, we were introducing hip hop to a mixed audience, and there were some black people out there that there was a guy named Leroy Worthy from San Jose, and he had a crate. And it was like every hip hop record almost.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It was like, and he used to let us borrow it. You know what I mean? It would be like the Sugar Hill stuff, the Profile record stuff, the few different labels and stuff that was going on. And then we met it when I first started my crew. Was this Latino guy from Cerritos. He had got a settlement from a car accident. He bought the tables, and I was getting the gigs and like the records and stuff. And I was getting at the school booking us dances and stuff. And then we met this guy, Little Red. He was from Lancaster, and he was an early affiliate of Uncle Jam's Army.
Okay,
wow.
And so he was turning us on to all of everything, Siberian Nights, Arabian Prince, just like, just all the Twilight
all
22.
the Electric Kingdoms.
Electric Kingdom, just like.
Planet Rock, all that.
Oh, who we worship.
All the
Planet Rock.
planets
That
and
was like a
kingdoms to
religion.
come.
Right. So, we were, he was like, he played all those records.
Right.
Big Jerry Curl, and everything like that, and so, and that was, and it was like the George Clinton Atomic Dog era, Herbie Hancock Rocket.
Come on, man.
I mean, I remember I was on La Brea and Coliseum and or Obama, what used to be Rodeo right there. There's like there's a market over there. It used to be a drugstore or whatever there. And I remember I was in the parking lot. My mom went inside and like Herbie Hancock Rocket came on. And I was just like, whoa.
Man, that shit was crazy.
Blew my mind. Like, I didn't know. Y'all was like, wow.
That was crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, like, there was no hip hop yet really to us because we were on the West Coast. It had been coming out for a couple years on the East Coast, but we barely heard it. Like first things I heard were like Rapper Delight and this and that really, but it just much stuff hadn't gotten out here. There were a few cats, some DJs in fact from Compton I know that came from New York.
Yeah.
Or cats that came from New York and relocated to Compton. I know that was playing records real early and doing stuff. And guys like Scotty Spencer.
Right,
who was
Scotty Spencer? I remember him.
A real early guy who was some of these DJs that was doing stuff. But that's not something I was involved in, but just something I knew about. But I bought records at the Rhodium, Steve Yano, bought break beats out there and everything, So I would come back and forth from the Bay to LA, and I would, I started DJing in 82 and didn't stop really for like 20 years.
And so that was hella dope. DJ in 1982, coming back and forth from the Rhodium Paul, gritting break beats, taking them back up to school, rocking to college. What else was going on?
Well, when I was in college, I started like working at record stores. I was like the 12-inch buyer. I was like putting on concerts at some of the venues, the local venue, and on the campus and everything. And then I moved back to LA. and just kind of when I graduated school and just started trying to get my place here, and I got my internship at Arista Records, and so that was my first kind of like gig, and that led to a job at Delicious Vinyl. So that was like my first job, and I was working early days when they were like promoting Tone Loc and Young MC and stuff. And
so you was over there with Def Jeff?
Yep.
Nice,
Yep.
nice.
I worked that whole project. In fact, funny ass story, in Def Jeff's video, like his first video, Dropping Rhymes on Drums, his big video, he filmed at USC African Marketplace, and there's a scene where I walk up to him and I got like 20 African medallions around my neck and like 15 on each arm, and I'm like trying to sell him African medallions, and he just like he like disses me, you know, like the white guy trying to sell him.
I remember that.
African medallions. Oh, it's hilarious cameo.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You know, Def Jeff was my man, the Soul Brothers, you know, Body and Soul, D and Rose.
Dope.
Yeah, D Barnes.
That was a dope era.
That was a real dope era.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, that Delicious Vinyl, that was like a dope era back then.
Yeah,
You know
and
what
we
I
were a
mean?
part of a lot of things because Mellow Man Ace was also, they did his album through Capitol. And then, you know, like Sen was Mello's brother. So Cypress Hill and everything was, and Muggs and everybody was all around. We were all affiliated through a lot of ways because my roommate at the time, you know, Muggs was this guy, Skate Master Tate, and he was friends with Muggs. Muggs used to stay with us. He got a lot of the samples from Cypress Hill. So yeah, and that led after the Delicious Vinyl job, that led into me starting my own street promotion company, more or less, you know. And I was also, which was PMP. But at that same time, right, I was always DJing and throwing parties and everything. I was involved in clubs like Water the Bush. Legendary parties. A lot of guys met their wives and girlfriends at my parties.
Did he say Water the Bush?
He said Water the Bush. That's a legendary club, man.
I was involved with that. Yeah, worked clubs with Matt Robinson, Peace
Listen,
Posse.
man, I got to interrupt you just to talk about one of your parties, man, right?
Please, go ahead.
I pull up, and I think I might have mentioned this story to you about how I pulled up to this, man, his house party was on some Dr. Dre shit, okay? I don't know where you was living at the time, but it was like super dope. And what do I pull up to? Drew Down blocking the fucking cops, right? And telling them to get the fuck out the way, bro. Like, with no regard to them as PD, bro. Just wilding, bro.
That sound like Drew Down.
Bro,
that
that was an ill ass moment, bro. But that's how off the hook his party was, bro. Like, I'm serious.
Helicopter
It was
came.
you and
Yeah.
Dr. Dre. I ain't gonna
Yeah.
front. Nobody
Yeah.
else was doing that.
Yeah, that was a live
dope.
party. Yeah, it was in the Hollywood Hills. It was off like La Brea and Franklin, more or less. You know, I had rented a house from George Duke.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it was the era right where I had like my label deal through Def Jam, and I had signed Montell Jordan. I was managing Coolio. We recorded Gangsta's Paradise in that house.
Right.
Oh, that's dope.
In a home studio where that party was.
Right.
You know, so we had a bunch of parties at that
Huge
house.
record. Huge record.
Yeah. The neighbor. Yeah, thank you. I'll take all that applause. The neighbors hated us. You know.
Get it again.
Rewind it. Yeah. Rewind selector. But you know, that was a magical moment, a magical house. You know what I mean? It was like, you know, we were just really having fun, making money off the music industry, not jerking people.
Dope.
You know, so the
Right.
business was straight. I never had a bad reputation. No one ever runs around saying bad things about my business.
That's right.
Ethics with artists.
I ain't heard nothing. I tell you.
Right. So, you know, it was, which, you know, for me, like some guys made more money, but I was, you know,
Your
I
shit was solid.
I felt freer to walk around everywhere without bodyguards and them dudes. You know, I never had nobody mad at me. You know what I
Right,
mean?
exactly.
So my life's been different, you know, so.
I was around for them days. I used to see you sliding around.
Yeah.
Fresh Adidas, Ice
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Like, who is dude? Like, that's Paul Stewart. I'm like, oh, okay, that's
EMP.
what's up.
And that's what's dope about
we-
the
and we
West
chill.
Coast.
Yeah.
Because think his side, hella movement.
Right.
With Cypress and Young MC and you know,
Yeah,
and then
Coolio. If you wasn't doing the
Cool-
gangster shit, then it's like you said, it's different sides of the trees.
it is.
You know what I
It
mean?
is.
We had the Greedy Gregs, we got the Eric
Sure.
Whites.
Well,
And we had the Paul Stewart,
and, you know,
exactly.
and you know what's interesting how we all intertwine though. Like for example, when I got my deal with Def Jam, there were 3 things I did because I didn't last there very long. That really were important, let's say. I mean, because I did other things and I signed some other artists and stuff, but the main things that I did was I signed Montell Jordan, right? That came out on PMP.
That was very big.
Yeah.
Before that, and even bigger, I sent him Warren G. I executive produced his album. Me and Chris
huge.
Lighty, right?
Same
The Regulator.
Def Jam, basically.
Say, right.
Huge.
Right. And the other thing that's very not well known, but Greg would co-sign it in a second, was I turned Def Jam on to Domino. Wow. I introduced him to Greedy Greg and the Domino record, and then that's how it went through RAL or whatever like that.
That's a fact.
Yeah. So, you know, like I very quickly put Def Jam on the map on the West Coast when they really... Yeah, and they were just not plugged in on the West Coast in a way, and so I quickly came and like, you know, and it was great because Greg and them had Outburst. They had the label going. They had the Moke and stuff, the other artists and stuff. So it was like, you know, when Def Jam came, it was like, yeah, we want a distribution deal. You know what I mean? And for me, I didn't even have a label, but my attorney was like, tell me you want a label deal, and I was like, really? And they gave me a label deal, you know. But you know, it's like when I met them, I was very early in my career too. You know, I was just getting started.
So do you think like what you was doing over there and like what Greedy Greg was doing over there inspired them to follow that cab and put out a J.O. felony with Jay? Would you say that come from that?
It was
because they wasn't zooming in on West Coast at all.
You know, when I was there, they had at very first they had the South Central Cartel signed. They had Mello.
Mello. Yep.
And one other person that I'm blanking on, but it was J.O. Felony hadn't been signed yet, but then quickly J.O. Felony was signed.
Right.
And it was love because J.O. Felony was dope. You know what I mean? And so
true,
like,
no doubt.
you know, and it was like that was one thing they got right. And me and Jay, Jam Master Jay, R.I.P. that solid cat.
Salute
Me
to
and
the
him
king.
vibed immediately and linked. You know what I mean? And so that was like we just, you know, it's such a shame because me and him could have really done more things, but I, you know, and I didn't stay at Def Jam longer, and he wouldn't have cared. You know, he was a great dude. You know,
Yeah, he was.
So yeah, I mean, jail was a big step up for them for what had been happening on the West Coast, and you know what I mean. So I was there to support for the short time I was there. Anything I could do, turn them on to an Outburst, send them Warren G. You know, sign Montell.
Tell the truth.
I signed YNV.
Saving Def Jam at the time. Tell the truth.
YNV, damn, them my homegirls.
Right,
man.
exactly.
It's a lot of records
But
sold.
you know, let me take it back though, because before there was Def Jam, for me, before I was working with Def Jam, John Singleton put me on.
Dope.
And actually before that, Ice Cube put me on.
Okay.
Right. So it was like the cosigns that I got from these legendary cats like Ice Cube and John Singleton. But you know, and I paid my dues. It wasn't like I wasn't, you know, when I met Cube, he had Street Knowledge in over here off Victoria.
A lot of train tracks.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. You know, not far from, you know, it's like 60s basically. It's in 60s.
Florence and Crenshaw.
Right. Right near Florence and Crenshaw.
Florence
right.
and Crenshaw.
And so the office was over there, and I did marketing and promotion for Street Knowledge.
Okay,
Which
dope.
meant, you know, I was promoting Cam, Yo-Yo, and the Lynch Mob, basically.
Dope.
The records that he was putting out on his label through Sylvia Rone's
Yeah.
East West
Dope.
Records or whatever.
Dope.
Right.
Good artist. Great artist, too.
History, fame.
And so when I was doing that, I met John Singleton. And even before, just take it back a little bit more, when I met Cube and he said, I'm looking for somebody to do marketing and promotion, I had already been doing PMP. It was like, right, well, I had started one of the most influential, like, on-the-ground street promotion companies in LA. So he wanted to hire somebody, you know, for me to work for Cube was just such a, you know, honor, and it was just like, you know.
Was your company Malathion? Was that yours?
No, PMP.
Okay.
PMP.
No,
Power
as
Move
far as
Promotions.
okay. Well, did you ever team up with Malathion?
Yeah, we hired them.
Oh, okay, that's what I know. I
Yeah,
knew
we
it was
birthed
something.
a lot of these
Okay.
companies and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
worked
because
for
you're
us.
from the
Yeah,
era
yeah,
where it
yeah.
was street teams, where dudes was
Yeah.
out here
You want a little bit
shit.
about the history of LA street teams? Let me
Yeah.
break it down to you.
For sure.
You know I know, but break it down
because
for our
before,
audience.
Well, before me, there was the original street team guys in Los Angeles were Scotty Spencer and Doug Young.
Scotty Spencer is Scotty D.
Yes.
OG Scotty D. my
Right.
G.
Uncle Jam. He worked with Uncle
Jam's
Jam's Army and all this
King
stuff.
T.
Right,
Right,
exactly.
Todd and them. Oh,
Right.
boys. Okay.
Right.
I had to clarify that.
Exactly. So Scotty D
Nice.
and Doug Young were the original LA street promoters, and I think anyone that says that they weren't doing it before anybody is probably not correct. All right. Now it was on a small level, and they were working like the Macola things.
Yeah. Montell. Right.
This kind of a product, right? Don't think they were really getting hired by East Coast companies to work records out here or stuff like that much or whatever. It wasn't really happening yet.
Right.
Street promotion was a very new concept.
Right.
Rifkin opened his office out here. Rifkin started street promotion.
Exactly.
And he was doing it on a bigger level than any of us.
This is before bus bench ads and all that type of shit.
Right.
And then that's why I thought Malathion was his thing.
No, that came a little bit later.
Okay.
But SRC, Steve Rifkin's street promotion company, started about the same time PMP did.
Right.
Okay.
But he hired us to do records like out here because he was the big one getting the big account, and then we would do some work in LA for him.
Right.
You know, and he had different people and all this. So and so Steve deserves massive credit for the street team because he was like
He
taking it
gets
to a whole nother level and everything
Yeah.
like
That's
that.
dope.
But
Steve's a
there-
G. Can you give it up for Steve,
Yeah.
please? He's a
shout out
G,
to him.
man. That's my homie,
and
too.
he definitely put me on in a big way. He gave me the deal after the Def Jam deal with Loud. But from the history that I'm familiar with, and just to keep it real, there were street promoters in Los Angeles before he started that.
Right.
And it was those two guys I just mentioned.
Right.
When I started, though, what I did differently was we went to the swap meets. We went to things that were in the community, things that you would say. We went to ghetto record stores and the swap meets, things
Mom
like
and
that.
pop shops.
Right. But we also dealt with Hollywood
Right.
Right.
in a different way than Doug and Scotty D were at that time.
Right.
They were focused in like very urban communities.
In
Going to
the
mom
hood.
and pop.
They were
Yeah.
focused in the hoods.
Yeah, in the hood.
Well, not right, and Hollywood was moving at that time into having this underground scene
Right.
at Guadalinda's on Hollywood
yeah, yeah,
Boulevard
right.
or
Remember
wherever. All
Guadalinda's.
these like, and so I was super plugged into that.
Right.
Dope.
The Hollywood Live.
Yeah, the Water the Bushes
and also
and all
too,
that.
like the record company people that hire you, they live over here, and they're going to. So when they want to see the posters up because
Right.
it was kind of a new era. Because like I said, when Doug and Scotty D were doing it, they were doing it more for and they kept doing it. I mean, Doug did it for years through Interscope, and Scotty, and these guys are G's, you know.
Right.
Right.
Both worked for Death Row, Interscope, and all kind of companies for a long
for
time.
years.
And held down the hoods and doing this kind of thing and done stuff that's way deeper hood than I'm even. What I did that was cool was that I mixed it.
Right.
Because I went to all the swap
And-
meets.
and that's
You can't
dope.
say that I didn't like hit that kind of stuff. But, you know, they were more entrenched in that world than me. But I brought the other side that wasn't getting the, you know what I mean?
That era of street promotions actually made it illegal to even snipe up a pole, bro. Like,
We burned it
motherfuckers
out.
was,
And the
yeah,
people that came
getting
right
it in.
behind, and those guys that you're talking about.
Malathion went crazy with that shit.
We was behind that too over at Epic.
Right.
And they was calling us and shit like, who the fuck is this with all these 8-ball things on?
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
They
right.
called-
remember.
And they charged us.
Stapling the
Staple,
poster together.
scoot it up, staple, scoot it up,
Right, right,
staple,
right.
scoot it up.
So when I met Ice Cube and he was looking for somebody to do marketing and promotion for street knowledge, I stood out
Right.
Dope.
because I was industry savvy. I had worked at labels, but I had done the street thing.
Right.
When the labels didn't want to give me a job, I started my street promotion company. That's what happened.
Right.
I lost
dope.
the job I had, and I didn't know what to do.
Right. You figured it the fuck out.
Well, you did what you've been doing anyway, just
called
for
the
your
snapback,
company.
man. Shout out to that, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Because you know the game will do you dirty if you let it.
Can I give a big shout out to Curtis Harmon,
Curtis Harmon.
DJ K-Day, DJ Mixmaster K-Day
Yep.
DJ?
Right.
Because what happened was I was working for my man Matt Robinson. I had left Delicious Vinyl. He had a deal with Island Records, had a little label. I was, you know, his main employee, and then his deal went south. I didn't have a deal, but I thought I had done some stuff, and no one wanted to give me a job, so I started the street promotion company.
Dope.
You know, but it was because Curtis had gotten an account, and he goes, "Hey, somebody want to hire me to do street promotion, but you know, not really my thing. You want to do it with me? You know, I'll play the record in the mixes or whatever, you know." And I said, "Yeah." And
So you was doing social media type shit before social media was even thought of.
A lot of
You know what I mean?
the things
With
that are done now with are just like a new age version or like a digital version of things that we were
digital
doing.
version.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because that's how we know. Walking down the street, driving down the street, see some shit, like, oh, we didn't have all these.
No.
computers in our
You didn't know
hand.
when the album dropped, and then
Yeah.
she looked at the telephone
It was,
pole.
Oops, sorry about that. That's
it was,
J-Ro,
it was
shout
also
out.
though too. It was like it was a small circle, so you need if you're doing this, then you got to supposed to know all the DJs.
Right.
That's true.
But the thing is, the street promoter, he's only as good as his product, man.
Right.
At that time,
I
especially,
remember that.
you could put up posters and things all day for stuff, but if people weren't into it, you know what I'm saying?
You're just looking at it,
But
exactly.
But so I'm sorry. Back to my story real quick though. So when I met Ice Cube and he was looking for this person to do this, I had been paying my dues, and I had just gotten into management recently. I had briefly managed House of Pain and helped them get their record deal, but that fell through for me on my management side. I was learning the business the hard way. And then I'm at the Far Side, and so I was managing them, and they had just started to come out. I had a little buzz, and so when I met Cube, I said, he said, hey, we're interested in hiring you. And I said, oh man, I would love to work for you, man. It'd be such an honor. I said, I'm managing this group. Is it cool? If I still do my management stuff and take the job, you know. And I says, the Far Side. Oh, I like the Far Side. That's cool. So that was,
That's that work, man. Come on,
right.
come on.
He liked the
That's that
group,
work.
and
Yeah.
in hip hop, it was kind of like, well, if you're managing a cool group, and I'm trying to get you to get mixtape DJs to play our stuff, and
Right.
Yeah.
it's going to be a plus,
Right.
You
Exactly.
know what I mean?
Right.
As long as you can still handle the
work.
The low.
right. And so then when I met John, not only did was I verified by working for Ice Cube, somebody that obviously he had immense respect for, right?
Right.
But then I was also Far Side's manager, and they were a buzzing and bubbling group, and so
Right.
I
Shout out to the Far Side.
Shout out.
Right. And
So,
wait, let me tell you one little known fact too, which is crazy. So I'd already picked up Coolio, because I met Coolio at Street Knowledge, and he hadn't come out yet. And in Poetic Justice, Tupac's talking about his cousin, and when they play his music, there's a couple times in the film it happens. Those are Coolio's demos before they come out.
Wow, dope. Place
in the movie?
In Poetic Justice.
Ah, dope. Little hidden gem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
For the
Jules.
audience.
That's Jules. That's Jules, man. So, no, go ahead. What you was finna say?
Well, we're still on the music, and then we'll get into that.
Right, that's why I said go ahead.
production.
I don't wanna go there
because that's
yet.
huge. That's a whole
Right,
nother
right.
huge career by itself. It's one of the hardest working men's in entertainment. Very, very dope. So you're managing Far Side at the time,
Right.
Working the Street Knowledge with Yo-Yo and
Exactly.
Cam, and great artists too. So you got at least some
He
great
was over there.
artists.
My boy 3 was over there then.
Yeah, Lynch Mob 3 was. My office was right next to where his thing was. So yeah. I was in the dungeon down there. DJ Pooh, I got real
DJ
tight
Pooh,
with
Dazzy
Pooh,
D.
Yeah, all those guys. So it was,
I used to slide. through
Basically, Paul is.
and my man, I heard he's getting out. JD.
JD.
Yeah.
Oh, big shout out to
JD.
Give a
JD.
shout out to
I
him.
would love
So-
to see him.
So
man.
Paul is
That would
literally
make
our
me
West Coast Beastie Boy.
Lynch Mob.
That's who you are, Paul.
Man, you think
You like our West Coast Beastie Boy,
I would say
super
bigger.
credited.
I would say bigger.
I'm just saying, bro. Like you think
Well,
of the
you know,
East Coast,
well,
like
they-
the
they
Beastie
artists-
Boys get super respect.
Yeah,
like
yes, they
that's
deserve.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, they artists. I'm a behind the scenes guy.
right,
you know?
right. But I'm just saying that
yeah.
respect level, like you get that Beastie Boy type respect.
Well,
from
you
the
know what it is,
West,
man.
bro.
When you go back so far with so many people, and they seen you in so many different environments.
Right.
Like for example, I'll tell you one of the reasons that Snoop got a lot of love from me, right, is because when I was working for John, so this is a nice segue, right? So I went from Cube to John, right? It's a company, and I was the senior VP of New Deal Records, and I was music supervisor in Poetic Justice.
Dope.
I guess we can't start talking about this except that telling the story of when I first met John. He was rapping Poetic Justice, so he hires me, and he's like, to celebrate, the rapping, I'm gonna take you and Tupac to Atlanta for Freaknik.
South side to the best, north side to the least. Doing forward to 80. Greater later, player to player. Real shit lasts